NIO's first sub-brand Onvo is already being recognized, acknowledged. People are talking about this already being a better vehicle than what Tesla has. But don't take my word for it, because this isn't me saying it. In fact, this is Dong MaiMai. If you haven't seen his channel, he dropped a video and he broke down. He had the L60, the first model from NIO, their sub-brand Onvo. Deliveries for this vehicle will start in September in China. And so this is one of the things I'll be watching moving forward. I realize I'm in the US, and so we're pretty disconnected from these things, but that's exactly what I wanted to share. His take, his thoughts, someone who is there in China, who has been driving the vehicle, who basically said what Elon hasn't been able to do, William Li with NIO has made standard in this vehicle. So that's worth you checking out in my mind. I'll drop links for the website for Onvo and then also that video so you can look and just make up your mind for yourself and then come back and drop a comment. I want to hear from other people on this. This is what I'm watching this is the BEV, the battery electric vehicle, pure battery electric vehicles. That's all that NIO makes. They have 8 models. And in the first half of 2024, even though they were doing refreshes with models in the year of 2024, because they keep it clean, simple, they're constantly refreshing and focusing on the user and the user experience at NIO. They placed every one of their 8 models, the ES6, EC6, the ET5 Touring, the ET5, the ET7, the ES7, the ES8, and the EC7, all in the top 10 for their respective price categories. This is what I'll be watching moving forward, because right now they are getting some sales for the ET5 Touring in that 200 to 300,000 RMB price range, but Onvo with the L60 will be in one of these price ranges. So where is that going to rank? How will the ramp go for deliveries? Is it going to be a smooth ramp with deliveries from both NIO and Onvo from September on? I don't know. That's one of the things I'll be tracking. Also, I typically track this stuff weekly. The weekly insurance registration numbers for NIO, again, this is without Onvo, without the sub-brand, 6,000 to end the month of August. Not a surprise, especially as we saw NIO announce over 20,000 deliveries in the month of August. Congratulations to NIO for 4 months straight of 20,000 plus, all premium battery electric vehicles that they're delivering. So now let's take a brief look, and it is about 9:30 a.m. Central Standard Time. So the market's been open about 1 hour for me. And one of the things I'm watching, I've got it on the ticker at the bottom of the screen, is the trade volume. Over 18 million shares traded. That's pretty good volume. I have the fails to deliver pulled up on screen. Those are depicted. The white lines show fails to deliver. That's when there could have been naked shorting going on to suppress stock price action. And one of the things I was looking at, I'll just share with you briefly, the spikes in recent months. Here is one that was March 27th. Now, this is when it was reported there were over 5 million shares that couldn't be located. So I was just curious and taking a look at this before the market opened this morning. And I thought, I should do a video and just talk about this. My thinking is this: if there's about a month, give or take, on each side of where these are reported, what does the price action look like when we've got these elevated spikes? And so, for example, if we go back, NIO, it looks like, was trading at about $6.30 within the month from when this spiking FTD data was reported. So we don't know when it was actually taking place. We just know when it got reported. It's always delayed, lagged data. And then by the time we go out about another month, the stock price for NIO had gone from that 630 price range before the fails to deliver were reported to now a low of $3.71 thereabouts. So interestingly enough, that's a pretty wide range, especially for stock trading at those levels, in my mind anyway. How about this? This is the more recent, and you've got 2 spikes right in a row, almost 3.5 million on one day. The same week, over 6 million. And it looks like the high within this time frame would have been maybe this, we'll call it, I'm looking for the high, 535 price range. And then the low, well, gosh, it didn't take long for him to pull that one down. And look at this, right at the beginning of August, a couple more that were just reported. I shared a video on that over the weekend because Fintel was delayed in sharing the data. So I wanted to get it out to my viewers as soon as possible. But that was about another 5 million those 2 days, over 5 million between the two of them. And here we've got the price going down to what, 367. Look at that, a new recent low. Funny how those seem to align within about a month, give or take, on each side of it. Now, we never get to track this data real time, which is why I just want to have some awareness. In fact, it's on my Twixter. I've got it right there. The steps for growth and discernment. The first step is become aware. And for me, in this instance, I just want to have some awareness of what's going on with stock price action, things like the trade volume, things like the fails to deliver. Even though we can't track them real time, I want to see and be able to look back and see, all right, well, what's happened recently? How about if we go back for the full history? And that seems to paint an even clearer picture of an apparent correlation between fails to delivers and the stock price for NIO. Once I have the awareness, I can then, dig into it, research, and that's how I get more understanding. And then for me as an investor, what do I want to do with what I've learned or what I think I've learned and what I'm studying along the way? That's what it's about for me. And the channel is really just an opportunity for me to share some of what I'm seeing and thinking along the way. This journey that is life. It's a crazy one. It's a wild one. Long-term remains my view for this thing. I'm very excited about the earnings coming up a little later this week for NIO. I think it's going to be, I hope it's a positive surprise. I think it's going to be the best earnings we've ever seen from NIO. And now with Onvo coming out, apparently the L60 surpasses and is better than what Tesla has. So now NIO is finally focusing on targeting and taking market share from Tesla, but I don't have any idea. And really, I want to stay conservative with expectations on deliveries and that sort of thing for Onvo. And the L60 part of this is going to be, let's see what the learning agility for NIO has been. Let's see if they've learned from maybe previous mistakes or things they could have done cleaner or in a better, more orderly fashion. And let's see if the delivery ramp goes smoothly. Knock on wood, I hope it does. But for me, the short-term stuff I'll be watching on the ticker at the bottom of the screen. First, the trade volume. Second, the fails to deliver. Third, sentiment. Let's see what happens. Is that sentiment going to shift from heavy negativity towards NIO, China, this sort of thing? I couldn't help but laugh when I saw on Twixter, which of course is owned by Elon Musk. And I saw that Tesla and Elon Musk were both trending this morning. And this, of course, the weekend where we got all of the, I think it was at least 100 Onvo stores in China opening up with this vehicle that is apparently superior to Tesla's. But I'm in the US. How long is it going to take for people here to even become aware of this? Again, now we're back to my steps at the top of the page there. Become aware, understand, take action. If it takes a few more years for my fellow Americans or even from North America to realize how competitive the Chinese EV market is, then I don't know what that means time frame wise. I don't think there's any denying that brands like NIO will be global at one point, at some time in the future. But I almost think that in the short term, it's the election that's going to tell us something. As for example, if Trump wins, one of the things he's already talked about is having Chinese EV companies come over and partner with American companies to create jobs for Americans. I'd like to hear from people on this. What are your thoughts on this as well? So that's trade volume, FTD, sentiment, short-term stuff I'm watching. We've got earnings this week. What happens? Do we see more of an uptick with trade volume? And then what does price action look like? Will we have more spiking fails to deliver reported in the next few weeks? I don't know. The long term, that's this part right here, the 3 growth phases for NIO, which I usually keep at the bottom of the screen. In this case, I've got the ticker running because of the short-term stuff I'm watching as well that I want to share. But the long-term view for me is market awareness. The brand is still becoming known. For example, if Onvo isn't going to be recognized in the US for a couple of years, then I have to give it more time. That's my view. And then profitability. When is the company going to report profitability? I would love for there to be a surprise with this. Hint, hint, wink, wink. Let's see what happens in the near term on that. And then battery as a service, BaaS. What I'm looking for is at least 1 million cumulative NIO sales. And with that, I believe NIO hasn't gotten to 600,000 yet cumulatively. So probably a couple of years, maybe 1 to 2 years, and then we'll get a better sense of that. Also, in the meantime, Onvo and then another sub brand, Firefly, will be released. So that gives us more time to see what everything looks like. At that point, for me, I'll say, okay, once we have these kind of 3 major growth phases in play, now what does everything look like? What do I want to do moving forward? That's just my thinking. I enjoy the research aspect, that component, and sharing some of it, nerding out, as I like to say. But I talked longer than I intended, so let me cut this thing off. Have a great day. I'll see you all again very soon.